Welcome to B&C Car Reviews channel. Steve McQueen's Bullitt movie Mustang suddenly reappeared. This is how it happened. Steve McQueen's Highland Green 1968 Ford Mustang GT Fastback vanished 38 years ago. The ominous-looking pony car with the barking 390 cubic inch V8, which starred in one of the greatest chase scenes in movie history in the film Bullitt, with McQueen doing the driving in many of the shots, may have been lost, but it was never forgotten. Certainly not by Mustang aficionados, who speculated on its whereabouts for almost 4 decades, titillated by the occasional internet post or word of a spectral sighting. So when the Bullitt Mustang suddenly appeared at a Ford press preview at the North American International Auto Show in Detroit on January 14, 2018, the assembled journalists, car nuts, Ford execs, and Mustang fans went full geek. The synchronicity of the car's breaking cover in the same year as the Bullitt movie's 50th anniversary, and at the same event where Ford revealed its 2019 Mustang Bullitt tribute model, the third since 2001, is just too perfect for it to have been happenstance. And yet it largely was. As those involved tell it, the Bullitt Mustang never would have resurfaced in Detroit had it not been for a coincidence of cosmic proportions, the sheer luck of fortuitous timing, and, especially, the efforts of a determined coterie of emotionally invested volunteers. It took 30 seconds for the Bullitt Mustang, in original, if dilapidated, condition, to rumble onto the stage at Detroit's Cobo Center, but it took a village to make it happen. The backstory. The movie car's trip to the auto show stand actually started in earnest in December 2015, according to its owner, Sean Kiernan. Kiernan, 36, inherited the Bullitt from his late father. Bob Kiernan had purchased it in 1974 from an ad in our sister publication, Road and Track, to replace the family's only car, an MGB/GT. You have to remember that, at the time, movie cars were not really sought after, says Kiernan. His father liked the idea that it had been used in a movie, but the big factor was that it handled amazing and had huge amounts of power, especially compared to an MG. The Kiernans initially felt so casual about the Mustang's connection to the film that they employed it as a daily driver. Sean's mother, a schoolteacher, drove it for about 5 years, at which point it developed clutch trouble. It was parked in 1980, a year before Sean was born. Kiernan grew up to be a car enthusiast like his father, and the two made a couple of attempts at fixing up the old green Mustang themselves. They got as far as taking the car partly apart and having the engine freshened. The odd thing that happened, says Kiernan, is that the car just stayed in the garage all those years, as a project car does, and the internet was born while she just sat there, and in turn the rumors began to form. Not until 1999 was there any intention of keeping it under lock and key and a secret. My father and I always wanted to reveal it in the right way to squash any rumors that he was a hoarding car collector, and then I was just going to drive it to have fun. But Kiernan's father fell ill and passed away in 2014 before they could get the Mustang reassembled. At that point, says Kiernan, he was feeling the emotional gut punch of his father's death and was in a quandary about what to do with the car. I was struggling, he says. Then came the coincidence that changed everything. In December 2015, Kiernan, a salesman of automotive paint and supplies who lives outside Nashville, was returning from a day of sales calls with his boss, Casey Wallace. Wallace, the company's regional sales manager, had come in from out of town. On the long drive back to the office, Wallace asked Kiernan what cars he had inherited from his father. A 75 Porsche 911 and a 68 Mustang GT 390 Fastback, answered Kiernan. Wallace was intrigued and wondered what color the Mustang was. Green, replied Kiernan. Huh, responded Wallace. Sounds like the Bullitt Mustang. Kiernan recoiled. Was the family secret blown? Kiernan knew Wallace was no car guy. He barely knows how many tires are on his truck. How the hell did he know anything about Bullitt? What Kiernan did not know about his boss was that Wallace had a side business. Wallace explained to Kiernan that he and his best friend, independent film and video director Ken Horstman, were partners in a film production company called Spyplane Films. They'd been trying to get an action-adventure movie made that Horstman had written several years earlier. It revolved around two 18-year-old friends discovering the Bullitt Mustang in a barn and what happens after they buy it for a few $1,000s from the owner, who doesn't know what it once was. Bad guys arrive and separate the kids from the car. Mayhem and car chases ensue. Wallace and Horstman were working on financing their movie venture. Wallace, who lived in Atlanta, was taking advantage of his trip to Nashville to speak with a potential investor while he was there. "How close is your car to looking like the Bullitt Mustang?" asked Wallace.
Damn near exactly like it," Kiernan answered, stunned. What were the chances that a fellow paint salesman who happened to be Kiernan's boss also happened to be in the movie business? And that same person also happened to be trying to make a film that happened to be about the Bullitt Mustang that Kiernan happened to own? And then, recalls Kiernan, I had this overwhelming feeling. It was actually the first time I had felt my father's presence since he had passed away. I felt him in the truck with us. And suddenly Kiernan knew what to do. "The car you're talking about," he said to Wallace, "the one that's been lost forever? It's sitting in my garage. I've got it." "I couldn't breathe," recalls Wallace. Once he recovered from Kiernan's revelation, he asked if his filmmaking partner could see the car. The three met the next day and spent hours talking about what they might do together. "We made a pact," recalls Horstman. "We decided to do three things: to tell Sean's story as a way to honor his father, to reveal the Bullitt to the world, and to make our movie." It was enough to motivate Kiernan, a hands-on car guy with lots of experience wrenching, to reassemble the Bullitt and get it running again. Verifying provenance. But how to proceed with their three-pronged plan? The first step was to get the car authenticated. "Of course, we knew it was authentic," says Kiernan. He even had a letter from Steve McQueen to his father written in 1977 asking if he could buy the car back. Bob Kiernan turned McQueen down. After some research, Horstman reached out to John Clore through LinkedIn. Clore, a Gonzo Mustang nut, is also Ford Performance's enthusiast communications manager, the company's public relations liaison with all of the Mustang clubs scattered across America. That first connection was key. "I'm a Mustang enthusiast," says Kiernan, laughing, "and I'm also a lurker on all kinds of Mustang forums. I had to be. I never wanted it to be discovered that we had the Bullitt." John Clore had a big presence on the forums. And I'd seen him in the Mustang documentary A Faster Horse. Although Horstman's note was of necessity vague, Clore wasted no time in responding.